Alright, so I've just found what could be a nice little composition. Whoa. And I just got wet. Wasn't expecting those waves to splash up. Good morning, Mitch here again. Okay, today where are we? Well, today we've come to Winney Bay itself. We're going to walk down this very dark fire trail now, and it'll probably take about 10 minutes, and then I'll report back when we get to Winney Bay. All right, see you soon. Hopefully you can see down there. I'll move a little bit closer to the edge so you can see it, but this is where we're going. Just down there, you can see that the sun is definitely coming up pretty quickly now, but if we look just down there, we just move in between these trees. I think the best vantage point's just around here somewhere. So we are heading down to this little bay here. So we're going to follow the rest of this fire trail down, and it will dogleg around a little bit back in front of us here, kind of double back here, and whoop round one more time, and then we'll end up having to go through a little bit of bushland just to get out onto that bay there. It looks like the tide's not super high on the rocks today, so we can get down there, plenty of room to have a look around. So that's where we're going. Let's keep walking down this fire trail and hopefully navigating our way through that bush without getting attacked by ticks. See you soon. Alrighty, we've made it down to the bottom of the fire trail now, and we are moments away from heading down into Winney Bay after a very quick scramble through some, I think it's brackeny kind of bush. Not exactly sure what it is, but there's lots of it, and I'm not a big fan of the all the creepy crawlies that might be sitting in there waiting to pounce. So that's where we're going to go. If you've been down here before and walked the coastal trail, you head up this path here, follow it along, and you'll eventually get to a big flight of stairs, and I'll maybe show you a link to photos of that a little later. But today we are going this way. We're going to walk through there and hopefully make it through to Winney Bay unscathed. That was nowhere near as bad as I remember it being last time. Some very kind soul has been down and cleared the way, made sure none of the shrubs are overgrowing, so I've been able to walk through there, as you probably saw from the time lapse, without having to worry too much about getting attacked by any kind of creepy crawlies, at least not the ticks. So here we are, we're at Winney Bay. I'm going to spin myself around here now, just quickly show you what there is. So this is Winney Bay. Plenty of opportunities for photos. I hope. We've got the ominous looking rain shower over this way. You can see that over there. Hopefully it stays that way and doesn't work over here, otherwise I'm going to get pretty wet. But let's go and see if we can find some good photos. Alrighty, so the sun is planning to come up just over the headland that you can see kind of over here on my side at the minute. So it'll be coming up there. I think it rises at around 6 minutes past 6 this morning. I doubt we'll see it over that headland much before around 7 o'clock, but we might be surprised. The tool that I use to try and get a good idea of when the sun's going to be rising and where it's going to be rising is a tool called PHOTOPILLS, and I'll show you that on the screen right now. And what you can see is with PHOTOPILLS, you have this option to you have a lot of options in PHOTOPILLS. There are many features and functions that I won't go into today in this video, but one of the great features that I love using, especially as someone that's always out trying to capture sunrise photos in the morning, is the planner tool. And with the planner tool, I can firstly get a good idea of the timings around golden hour, blue hour, and when the sun's going to be coming up. But really cool is the AR feature, or the augmented reality feature of the app. So here I can click on augmented reality. You can see straight away there's an overlay now, and you can see my feet there, but as I bring the camera up and I move it around, you can see this augmented overlay that shows you the path of the sun and the time that the sun will be at its different points during the morning or during the sunrise. So you can see here now the sun is rising at 6:06, and it's going to work its way over that headland over the course of the next 30 minutes or so, and we'll end up with the sun peeping up around that headland probably just after about 7 o'clock. A really interesting tool if you're a sunrise photographer and you'd like to know where the sun's going to be rising. Not only that, there are some awesome features and functions in here for astrophotography or moon photography. Whilst this video isn't sponsored by PHOTOPILLS, it's a tool that I use regularly, and I know lots of other photographers use it as well. So highly recommended if you're looking for a tool to help you plan your next photography shoot for a sunrise. Anyway, let's go and see if we can find ourselves a good vantage point to enjoy at least the start of this sunrise. We're walking towards the south side of Winney Bay at the minute. We're just to the edge of the headland where I pointed out behind which the sun's going to be rising a little bit later. But I thought this would be, whilst I work my way across this rock shelf here, it might be a good opportunity to tell you a little bit about why I'm so cleanly shaven. Well, it's a couple of days growth now, but definitely a lot more cleanly shaven than I normally would be. And the other morning, pretty lazy when it comes to shaving. I tend to leave it days, if not weeks. And the other morning, I think it finally got the better of me, and I decided right now's the time I should get the electric razor out and give myself a little groom. So I did. Started to work as I do, one side face and then the other. Got halfway down I think it was the left-hand side of my face, and then all of a sudden my electric razor stopped working. No explanation, no evidence. I did some rudimentary troubleshooting, couldn't get it working, tried to oil the blades, couldn't get it working, turned it off, turned it back on, took the heads off, bashed it a few times as tends to work with certain things, and nothing. So that left me with a kind of two-face. Lots of hair on one side and no hair on the other side, which my kids might have found quite amusing, but I just didn't think that was the right look for work. And so, having not used a wet razor for, I can't even remember the last time I used a wet razor, I had to quickly hunt around to try and find one, and managed to find one in a new one, fortunately, in my wife's cosmetic drawer, so please don't tell her about that. But nonetheless, managed to find it. Had to scramble to find something that would be a viable alternative to shaving cream, because I don't have any, and did, and that was it. So then I took to the wet shave on my face to tidy myself up a bit, and yeah, it was an experience, but that's the reason why I'm looking so cleanly shaven, or I was at least the other day. Funny anecdote, I thought it'd be worth sharing to pass a bit of time whilst we walked along the rock shelf here. Anyway, we've just come to a chasm that needs crossing. So let's see how we're going to negotiate this. I think we're just going to step over these rocks here if we can do, and be very careful because there's a lot of water moving around here. Okay, there we go. We made that. One thing I would say, if you are coming down here, very careful of the black algae. I think that's what it is. I'm not entirely sure. We're walking around the headland now, and if you can see just over there, it looks like we've got the sun peeking up over those rocks. I'm not sure there's going to be too much of an opportunity to capture a sunrise photo for this one. Whoa, watch out for the black slippy algae. But let's see if we can scramble up here and get a slightly better vantage point. There she is. Good morning, sun. Just for some context, so just over here you can see we've got Terrigal, that's the water tower on the top there. The Skillion over there. Then Avoca just on the other side of this headland. This is over here, sorry, just there, where I'm pointing my fingers, that's where we started this morning. That's the entrance to Winney Bay over there, and then we've just walked all the way along this rock platform, just out to here a little bit, across the chasm, and around to the end of the headland here, just to take in this beautiful sunrise as it comes up behind those clouds there. Alright, so I've just found what could be a nice little composition. Whoa. And I just got wet. Wasn't expecting those waves to splash up. Just found what I thought might be a nice, interesting composition. It's going to require me to get quite low down with my camera, but there is a small patch of rocks, just in a bit of a line here, protruding in that general direction towards, you can see it there, just kind of along that way there. And there's some nice patterns in those rocks. They're wet, which is going to make the reflections look quite nice as well. I'm going to get low. I'm going to use a wide angle, or the widest angle I can on my temporary Nikon camera that I'm using at the minute whilst I wait for my Canon to get fixed. So we're going to open that up. It's a crop sensor at about 18mm it's going to be, so a bit more than that with the crop factor included. So I'm going to open it right up to that 18mm. just so I can, and try and use these rocks as a foreground element and really emphasize them, and see if we can get that sun behind the cloud in the background there, which looks quite nice. So anyway, I don't know if it's going to work. Here I have a vision. We'll see. We'll try it with the camera once I've got the camera set up. If it looks as good as I think it will, we'll snap it. Otherwise, we might not. So I'm heading back towards the main walkway onto Winney Bay now, and as I was walking along, I just stumbled across this strange collection of worm-like patterns on the floor here. I have no idea what they are. If you do, or anyone out there does, please feel free to comment and let me know, because I'm very curious. But I just think now that the sun's come up and has started to light this whole area up, that's actually quite an interesting, or it might make, I think, quite an interesting abstract photo. So I'm going to take a photo with my camera pointing directly down on them, and try and crop out as much of the rock as I can do. I just think it's quite an interesting abstract photo. It looks nice now the light has come on board and it's cooperating, so I'm going to give it a go. As is always the case, we're experimenting here. It may not work, it may do, but let's get the camera set up and see what we end up with. I did just try and do a time lapse of this scene setup here, but for some reason my camera stopped recording halfway through, so we didn't really get much of footage there. But I just wanted to show you how I set this up. So at the minute I've got the camera pointing right down at the scene, at the pattern on the floor there. It looks okay, not great. I think it might need a little bit of colour correction in post, but yeah, I don't know. Not brimming with photo opportunities today, so I thought that looked quite interesting and would be a good addition to the collection. Anyway, I'll put it on screen in a second. Let me know what you think. Love to see some of your abstract photos. For a split second there, and I just about managed to get a shot away. I'm not sure how it's going to look, but these two headlands here, the one at the front and then the one and kind of at the back behind it, a bit further along, my perspective isn't working there, but hopefully you can see them there. The front one was really lit up by the sun. The back one, I guess, was in the shadow of that, or maybe the shadow of the one that's in front of me here, but it was completely in shadow. And it just looked really cool. You had this beautiful bright kind of orange looking sandstone here at the front, and then just dark overcast shadowy looking area at the back there. Just from a contrast perspective, I thought that looked very cool. So I did try and get a shot away. As is always the case, experimentation, and hopefully that one did turn out right. I'll put it on the screen right now. Love to know what you think about that one. Any suggestions about how I could perhaps have improved that, or what I could have done slightly differently. We're back now where we started, which is at the entrance to Winney Bay here, and there was one thing that I did want to explore as a potential photo opportunity. I noticed it when we first arrived, and I have noticed it before when I've been here before, and that is this, I guess, axle and wheels, if that's the right word to describe it. I'm not entirely sure. If you have any idea, if you are a mechanic or you know anything about cars or vehicles that have axles and wheels, maybe you can give me an idea of what it might be, what it might belong to, if it is actually in fact axles and wheels. But that's what I think it is, and I'm going to go with that for the time being. But I noticed it on the way down, but it was very dark when we first got here. It wasn't really going to be a great opportunity to take a photo of it. Now that the light has started to come through, I think is a good opportunity just before we head up back to the top of the fire trail. So I'm going to see what I can do with this. Maybe make it an interesting foreground element, maybe do something a little bit more abstract with it, but I'm going to have a play and we'll see what we end up with. And And that's it. That brings us to the end of another video here on the Central Coast, and today we've been to Winney Bay. I think I managed to get a few shots away. Hopefully I've been able to share some of those with you on the video as this has progressed, and would love to hear your feedback on them. It wasn't a wonderful day. I think my bar has been set too high, personal bar has been set too high now after the trip to Avoca a few weeks back, where I was able to get the sunrise through that sea cave. But I need to remember that each trip needs to be unique and independent, and every time I'm trying to find new interesting things to photograph, and I'm always learning. And you've heard me mention today lots of experimentation. I'm happy to be very vocally self-critical. Maybe some of them turned out well, maybe some of them didn't, but I'd love to take your feedback and hear what you think about some of those photos. Anyway, the great thing is we got to come out, we got to explore somewhere, you got to see part of the world that maybe some of you haven't been to before. And if you are looking for an interesting place to visit, I highly recommend popping down to Winney Bay, especially if you're into photography. Lots of people fish here as well. But with that, it's time to wrap up the video. I'm running a little late today, so I better get moving, but I'm going to start walking back up the fire trail now. If you like the video, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to get notified every time I'm publishing new videos, also hit that little bell icon in the corner there, and that will make sure that you get notified every time I'm uploading a new video. If you like these videos, I'd really love some feedback in the comments as well. Are there any things you'd like me to talk about? Would you like me to go into more detail about the gear that I've got, or more detail about the approach or the techniques that I'm using? Anything like that, I'd love to hear more, so that I can adapt and adjust these videos to be more interesting and valuable to those of you that are watching. Thanks again for watching, really appreciate your time. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and I'll see you soon.